Hello and welcome to this week's episode of John's Garage. This week we are driving a very, very luxurious Nissan in what I consider to be the absolute pinnacle of Nissan craftsmanship. This is a Nissan Maxima QX, and this particular one is a 2004 and it's a 2-litre V6. And I'm not going to lie, guys, I have been out and driving this car with the owner. We've been chatting about it, we've been talking about it, and I realised soon after that my speed hadn't actually cracked 40 miles per hour. Not because the car isn't fast, because it can move, more because it's just such a comfortable, relaxing experience. It's actually really, really nice place to be. Yeah, so let's get on with it. Anyway, folks, as you can tell, it is bucketing outside. I've gotten drowned getting ready to get into the car. It is absolutely steep, peeing rain outside. It's raining cats and dogs. So yeah, I'm sorry if that's creating a little bit of noise distortion. But anyway, we'll get on with it, okay? So what exactly is the Maxima QX? Well, this particular model was launched in Ireland in 2000 and lasted up until about 2006, if I'm not mistaken. The last orders were maybe 2007 for last registrations here. They were available with two engine options. You had a 2-litre V6, which is what we're driving here today, and you also had the uber rare 3-litre V6. Now, I'm going to throw this out there. If anyone watching this video in Ireland has a Maxima 3-litre V6, please make contact with me with your contact details so I can pass them on to the owner, because I know they would love one of those as well to go along with this one. Anyway, what else can I tell you about this? The owner has owned it for 5 years. They bought it, let's just say when values were at their absolute minimum, they bought this. And they got a cracking car. So currently it has it's just clicked over 74,000 miles, so 74,004 miles. I put that 4 on it. The owner put a few more coming down from Dublin to me. It's just clicked over that, and it is silky smooth. I asked them in the 5 years and 5,000 miles that they've covered in the car, or sorry, 10,000 miles that they've covered in the car, sorry folks, have they had any issues? And they said no, none. And I think that is testament to the fact that this is absolutely brilliant, okay, in terms of Nissan's build quality. As far as I'm concerned, folks, Nissan never built as solid a car after this particular one. Again, apologies folks about the loudness if the microphone is picking up the rain outside. It is really coming down in bucketfuls right now. So, what was this car new in Ireland? So if you bought this car new, you probably paid in and around 26 to 29,000 pounds at the time. If you wanted the V6, that was 37,000 pounds. Now they sound like big sums of money, but they actually, in comparison to what the competitors were offering, they actually were cheap enough, okay? And not only were they cheap, they were better spec'd as well inside. So you got the automatic gearbox as standard, you got a V6, you got climate control, you got a 6 CD changer in the back, leather steering wheel, hand controls up here at the radio, you had heated seats, you have a sport mode and a frosty weather mode on the automatic gearbox, full leather interior. Now I was trying to research a few bits and pieces about this leather interior, and I found, but I can't say for definite that this is true or not, that it is hand-stitched Italian leather. If that's true, that's absolutely amazing. Now, in terms of the quality, so this would have been pitched against, I think Contemporary magazine said the BMW E39 and stuff like that. I don't really think it was a competitor for that. The E39 was all about handling and performance and track times and, you know, something aspirational. Whereas I think this was more aimed at somebody who wanted something that was well built, who wanted something that would last, and who wanted generous equipment at a reasonable price. In other words, the typical Irish motorist who graduated up from their Almera and their Primera and wanted something a little bit bigger, and this is what they got. Now, another thing to note with this car, in Ireland and in the UK, we kind of looked at this and we said, oh, it's a big Nissan. We don't really want that. We'd like a big BMW, or we'd like a big Lexus maybe, if we were going to go for something Japanese. So there was a bit of badge snobbery at play. I would say in the UK more so than in Ireland that took place. But what did that mean for the buyer? Well, it means they ignored something that they shouldn't have ignored. And the reason I'm saying that is, in America, this was actually an Infiniti 130. I think it's 130 or 130, something like that, whatever way they pronounce it. And in Japan, it was considered a luxury car as well. It was sold as a Safiro, which again was the Japanese luxury nameplate for the big Nissan, okay? And what you got was a superior build quality. I've already talked about the build quality, so I'm not going to labor on that. But one thing I do want to talk about is the panel gaps in this car. Folks, Mercedes of the 90 and BMW of the 90, even the 2000s, would be jealous of how well Nissan has built this car. There isn't a squeak, there isn't a rattle. Everything works exactly as it should. There's digital readouts here in front of me. There isn't a pixel missing on them. Everything is solid. There's no wear anywhere. It's just the condition, I can't get over it, is absolutely incredible. The leather has lasted. The seats are lovely and soft. They're very, very supportive, very, very comfortable. Not too soft in terms of ride comfort, or in terms of driver comfort as you're driving it, but they're very, very supportive. The rear, tons of space. With these big, massive grab handles on the back of the front seats in order for you to be able to enter and exit easily. That's how big the rear end space is. The owner tells me there's 520 litres in the boot, so it's very practical. And this leads me to a point, a lot of these ended up being used by taxis and hackneys around the country and pretty much got driven into the ground. People who appreciated the build quality, and going back to that again. Now the one we have here today is a 2004 model, so it's a couple of little updates over the original Maxima QX that would have been launched here in Ireland back in 2000. Now I found, or not that I found, the owner found a contemporary road test back from 2000 done by, I think it was the Kildare People or something like that, done by a journalist called Brian Byrne. And I'm actually going to link that underneath this video because it's actually a lovely read, and they talk a little bit about the car and where it sits in the Irish mindset and stuff like that. But one interesting thing I found in that, up to this car's launch in 2000, the best model year Nissan had sold, or sorry, the highest number of these Nissan had sold in a single model year was 300. Nissan had such confidence in this particular car, they said they were going to repeat that in the first year. So they expected that they were going to ship quite a few of these cars in the year 2000. They were aiming for 300, which is a pretty good figure considering the size of the market at the time. And did Nissan do it? I actually don't know. I couldn't find any figures. So folks, if anyone's listening that maybe worked in Nissan Ireland at the time, could you let me know, did you hit your mark on these? I know over time that sales petered out and they didn't, but did they hit it in the first year? I'd be very interested to know that, okay? Now, other than that, what else do we have here? So you might be wondering, what's it like to drive? Well, as I said, silky smooth from the engine and gearbox. They're whisper quiet. Suspension wise, it's actually pretty, I don't want to say tight is the wrong word. It's responsive, but it's comfort orientated. Now, it's front engine, front wheel drive, so no rear wheel drive here. So again, we're losing out on bonus points towards luxury brands where rear wheel drive is considered the, I suppose, the optimum way setup for cars, okay? But the other thing is, at the rear, there is quite a complicated multi-link rear suspension, and it gives very good handling, gives very good ride comfort, very, very good handling, and it's actually quite responsive. So if you do put the foot down, it can handle, okay? It's not floaty, it's not a barge, it is actually quite entertaining. Now, a couple of people have often described these to me as a big Primera, okay? The same way in that Renault Safran is a big Laguna. And I think that's actually a little bit unfair on these cars. I actually think for such a big car, this handles really, really well. So I'm just going to pull in here, folks, for 1 second, and we're going to turn around on our test route rather than continuing, because otherwise we'll end up in the middle of, literally the middle of nowhere. Sorry to people who live in Latra, but yeah, that's where you live, in the middle of nowhere. Local people to me will know where Latra is. Anyway, the owner of this particular car also, they have it for a reason, okay? There's a reason they went and sought out one of these. It is their third one, but they travel quite a bit with work and they have to leave the car for weeks on end. And the reason they want one of these is that they want to know when they come back that that car is going to start, it's going to run, it's going to be faultless, and it has been faultless in the 10,000 miles they've covered in it over the last 5 years. Their intention with this car, they're going to keep this long term, because this car suits them down to the ground. Now, I don't really think you're going to get build quality like that in any brand in a modern car. I really think that day is gone, and it's more the pity. This, as far as I'm concerned, is the pinnacle of what Nissan could build. Something very, very nice, incredible fit and finish. Even to this day, I still rate the fit and finish in here. A couple of naff touches like that wood finish, it's not aged particularly well, but the rest of the car, it's great. It's really, really good. Now, where else was the Maxima QX sold? So I've kind of talked about Infiniti. It was sold in Japan, I already said, as a Safira, but it was also very popular in Russia. The Maxima QX was sold in Russia. Very, very important. And the other thing, actually I forgot to mention this about the Irish market, and it came from that article that I mentioned earlier. Nissan were so confident in the Irish sales of this car that it was actually launched here first in Europe. We got the first Nissan Maximas in Europe launched and available to customers. That's amazing. I think that's amazing because we always look at our market here in Ireland and say, oh, we're a small market, nobody really cares about us. You know, we get the cast-offs or we get stuff a little bit later than everybody else. No, even back in the day, Nissan were launching cars here first. And some manufacturers still do that here in Ireland. Or they might bring in a particular model variant, like Renault bring in the Megane Saloon and stuff like that, and they sell that here. Toyota bring in the Corolla. You don't get the Corolla Saloon in the UK. I think you did when it was first initially launched, but not anymore. But again, they cater for Irish taste that way. But Nissan were doing this back in 2000. I think that's testament to Nissan's belief and I suppose place in the Irish buyer's mindset back in the day that was, okay? Anyway, listen, thank you very much for joining me on what is this miserable day. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I know I've really enjoyed going down memory lane on the Nissan Maxima. Incredible car. And I forgot to mention that 2-litre V6 pushes out 130 horsepower, but who cares? It's a silky smooth engine. If it produced 80 horsepower, I'd still love it. It's just such a nice, relaxing setup. Anyway, it's miserable outside. I got the heated seats on. They work. Tell me yours and your 2000 registered BMW work, and I won't believe you. But anyway, they work in this Nissan. They're really comfortable, so I'm just going off for a long drive. I'm just going to relax, okay, folks? Listen, it's been great seeing you this week. Thanks so much for coming back, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and let's build up the channel a little bit more, all right? Adios, folks. Bye-bye.